Steve Sipple on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Sorry, I had to pause my my AMA with the YouTube chat
so I could do a radio show.
Get back to this radio show. I was mid answer. Hokey Skir, I'll finish that answer a little bit later, but we gotta get better content now than me answering questions. That's why we get this guy, Steven Sipple, my morning radio rival from Lincoln, Nebraska. Just beat each other up all day long on the air. And here we are coming together on another station to smoke a peace pipe together. Hello, Steve. How are you doing today?
I wasn't aware that you were beating me up, Jack.
Oh, they don't tell you? Oh, just constant. That's all. That's basically my entire show is just trashing the opposition now, making up stuff. And yeah, it's
well, now I guess the gloves are off.
Yeah, it's all over. Yeah, you and Bill and Jake, you guys can come at me with what you want. I've been fully vetted. I don't think you'll find anything, but it's up to you.
We're pretty hardcore,
I know. No, I've heard. Yeah. Well, it's good to have you with us. Do you get to the point like I'm doing these shows, I'm doing my own show, I'm doing Connor's show, and do you get to the point this time of year where you're just like, I am really analysis out of the preseason portion of the schedule, and I need some games, or at least a game coming up to specifically talk about.
I don't, you know what? In recent years, no. Maybe earlier in my career, I got a little more that way. But I think as you go, and you probably haven't reached this stage because I'm considerably older than you, but
I'm a very young guy. Very young guy. A lot of people say that. Yeah.
Well, how old are you?
What do you think I am? How old do you think I am? What was your guess?
46, 42, 43, 45.
I turned 40. I turned 47 a week and 2 days ago.
I nailed it. In other words, I nailed that.
No, you didn't ever say that number, but nonetheless, I mean, if this is guess your weight, that was within 50 pounds. But nonetheless,
when I quit it, now you're beating me up again. Now here's the thing.
Guess his weight now.
No.
When I was that age, yeah, maybe I did get a little that way. I do think as you get older, you appreciate it more. I think I appreciate just the day-to-day discourse, and you appreciate there's this sort of, I don't want to call it an art because that sounds really pretentious, but there's a challenge for sure of keeping it lively and finding things to talk about that are interesting. And it's sort of an ever-evolving discussion. Things change.
Yeah.
Things change in the midst of camp. So, I mean, not a ton, but enough. So, no, I love it. I really like this time of year. I wouldn't say I need a game right now. But when the games start, it's always nice.
Right. I get what you're saying, like 50 weeks of the year. It's just like these 2 weeks. It's just like, man, I feel like I've been thinking and talking about the same things a whole lot. But, I like this. This is the first time I've ever come on this radio station. I've been called young. It's usually a lot of harassment from the other direction, which, this place is getting there's a lot of that here. So it's nice. I should do more with Sipple. This was very good. I'm sorry about all those bad things I say about you every morning.
You're not fun, so don't worry about it.
Hey, I was watching the BTN was there the other day, and I watched it last night, and they were like, I've only really seen video of these facilities, but they were talking about the facilities. They were really drooling and talking about facilities. Like, how good? I don't know if this question makes sense, but like, how good are these facilities that they've got now, and where does it sort of compare to what else is out there as far as you know?
That's a good, I'm glad you added as far as I know, because I don't go around evaluating anybody's facilities, except the road trips we make. You can't help but notice some things, and Nebraska's high end. I as an example, it's startling how much better Nebraska's facilities are than Ohio State.
Really?
And Yeah, we're way better. Not even close. Anybody that has been to Ohio State would tell you that. It's not close. Now, that brings up an I guess an important part of the discussion. How much does it matter? Ohio State's clearly not held back by, I would say, facilities that were strong in 20 years ago. But that said, I do think Nebraska's got that. The new practice facility or the training facility, call it what you want, next to the stadium is beautiful. It's amazing to look at. It's amazing to go in it, and it's not going to hurt you, and it'll probably help you, and not just land recruits. I think that I'll tell you one thing, Jack. I know you appreciate Matt Rhule, and one thing, if you listen to him really closely, especially since he's been here, he emphasizes recovery, player recovery. I've never heard a coach emphasize recovery. I've never heard a Nebraska head coach emphasize recovery more than Matt Rhule. And the recovery aspects of that place are amazing. They're just it's beautiful. As a player, I'm not saying it's beautiful like you're in a gorgeous hotel on Miami Beach, but it's very functional and clean.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the guys appreciate it. So I'd say it's top 10, very conservatively. I'd say it's top 10 nationally, conservatively. And I stay conservative because I don't go around studying it too much.
It's too bad all the recovery stuff is being wasted on all those young people, huh? We could use a nice hot tub, right? We could use a little, right? That would be very nice. A little recovery. All those, lower back. How good would our lower backs feel, right? If we had all that access to all that.
Better. We'd walk.
Very nice.
We'd probably walk better.
Very nice. They should have that maybe a little 1890 deal. Donors, middle-aged and above donors can have a day enjoying recovery at the Nebraska facilities, right? And and if that hip pain or back pain magically goes away, well, you're welcome along with that.
Yeah, or just build a separate, smaller facility, maybe over by the Champions Club or something that the old people could go to.
Right. Well, for a little NIL donation, you get a membership. I got all kinds of great ideas for those guys. That'd be nice. You mentioned one thing though. You talked about recovery a lot. One of the things that I have noticed in watching the content that they're putting out, the Chasing 3 documentary things that they are doing, I was a little surprised at how much nutrition / training table / cooking / eating content was in that. It is all over that thing. Like if I saw Nebraska's nutritionist walking down the street, I would recognize her before 75% of the football team at this point, because I've seen. Yes.
Isn't it amazing that in this market, we know who the nutritionist is?
Yes. I would recognize her going down the street here. I've seen so much of her on this video. I assume that's by design. I assume all these things are a lot by design, but is that like a really hot topic in recruiting right now or something? Or why do you think that's happening with the stuff that they're putting out there?
I mean, there's a lot of common sense in these, these are common sense conversations by nature, I think. I mean, what do humans love to do? We love to eat. We love good food. Who doesn't love good food?
Yeah.
Especially in this country. This country is so food oriented. And of course those kids are. And I've noticed exactly what you've noticed. There is an incredible emphasis. I think on the latest Chasing 3, they interviewed, what was it, Jack? Like 3 or 4 people associated with the new food service.
Yes. Yes. Every episode, there's a food portion in it. Every single one.
Yeah, they interviewed 3 or 4 people. I'm like, what? Interesting. I always feel like maybe I should be writing something about this. But no, I do think it's, come on, Jack, everything they put on the Nebraska football social media avenues are, I think, at least indirectly designed to recruit, designed to impress players, or just directly do it. And I think that's a lot of it. And it does look incredible. I know players deserve to be paid. I get all that. But I've never, ever, ever, and we don't need to get into a big argument here, but I've never thought that players were being taken advantage of. I just never thought it. They're treated so well. This isn't a new thing. Nebraska football players have been fed and treated medically at levels that most of us would only dream about. And so, yeah, they eat at a super high level.
It seems like they're trying to recruit me there between recovery services and a pizza bar and that kind of stuff is basically so I'm ready to sign whenever. Also, I require no NIL dollars, right? I'll be free on that. So just give me a few classes to audit. I already got my degree. I don't know. I'd take some philosophy classes or something, and I'm ready to use a facility. So they've won me over on this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It was do you think that the practice with the 1890 thing, do you think that was a success? We're going to see more of that. Like, what do you think that as sort of testing the water for these sorts of things, and what does that look like in the coming months and years to have experiences or creative ways to raise money like that?
Full disclosure, I wasn't there, but what I've heard and what I've seen of it, yeah, it was a success. And now, number of fans, 3,300, I think was the number. They hoped for more. 1890, I think Matt Rhule would tell you he hoped for more, but it was, they didn't have a big lead up to it, like about a month lead up, I think. So it's kind of a short runway to it. I think it'll get more people as we go on, and I think it'll get more people if Nebraska throws a 9-win season. I mean, winning always helps those sort of things. And will those types of events occur more often? Yeah, I think for sure. I think they'll occur in multiple sports. But I certainly think next year, part of August, once again, will be an event like that to help raise money to pay the players. Makes sense. I think the fans probably enjoyed it. And we happened, Jack, to have a head coach who was mindful of putting on a good show for fans. He's not everyone is. Not every coach is. Or at least some are more than others. And we're very lucky to have Matt Rhule in that regard. He's mindful of the fans' loyalty and fervent nature, and how important that is to the entire operation.
What do you think of the whole? I know this was about a week ago. He said at a press conference, and it's all come together afterwards. But the whole kind of limiting people at practice, and then there was going back to the chasing three, where they included the portion where he was talking to the team about how they practice differently when there are people there than they don't, and so it sort of came back after the fact with that press conference, and it's obviously a message that he. With Rhule, at least I perceive this, that if a message gets out through various channels, he wants it out there. So he seemed to want it out there. What do you make of that whole situation?
Make of his message to his guys after had the personal foul in the practice.
Yeah. And just the fact that he is, it's pretty clear that he wanted like some of this at least out there, and the fact that he was closing practice. And I'm curious what he's doing with the chess pieces on this, because there's some people who said, is this overblown at this point? And maybe it is. I'm not sure, but I'm curious what your reaction to all that part of it was.
When it comes to Nebraska football, virtually everything is overblown.
That's true. That's fair.
So, but as far as closing practice, I'll address that first. I love it. I think it should be closed. I'd never be critical of a Nebraska football coach. I've said this for years and years. Never would I be critical of a coach for closing practice to everybody. It's probably what you should do. Not every practice, but scrimmages. That doesn't bother. Would I like to be there? Yeah, I would. I'd love to be there. But here, Nebraska is much different than most places in that you're going to draw 500 people. And then, I don't know, he worries about how it affects the players. He doesn't like them always being under scrutiny, which they are. And then the thing I never have liked about it is this: media, including myself, call people who were there, and then we write some sort of whispery practice reports from people, unnamed sources who were on hand. And it's not. I've never regarded that as healthy. It seemed like something that was a sort of a necessary evil with the emphasis on evil. I mean, I just thought it was kind of unsavory, like sort of an unsavory way to convey what happened in practice. You didn't see it, and you're kind of relying on this person who did. But we all know how that works. Sometimes sometimes people kind of see what they want to see, or they just have an agenda. So how accurate is it? I hated that part. So he's kind of removed that. He's removed that, and I think in a market like this, that equals health. That's a step towards something that's a little more healthy. I would try to advocate always doing it. He let Osborne watch it, and that was about last Saturday's scrimmage, and that was about it. And I think he's doing the same thing this week. He's tightening it down. Now, as far as how he addressed the team during the open practice after the personal foul, I loved it. I loved it. This team loses close games all the time. That's a sure way to lose a close game, getting a personal foul at a key moment, or even not a key moment. Nebraska's not in a position where it can afford to do a lot of that or any of it. So the message was great. It didn't have to be on camera, but I didn't mind it being on camera.
It sounds like there might be like kind of some dual motivations there between that. Right? There's multiple parts of that. It sounds like.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't read a whole lot into it, but I'm just glad he's closed the practices. I think that's a healthy move.
What we had BC on earlier in the show, and he talked a little bit about just how it didn't went into these fall practices, the things he sees, the things he hears. It just doesn't feel like a team coming off a disappointing season. It doesn't feel like a team coming off a bowl game. And I know everybody hears that, and I've heard other people say that. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but I've heard other people say that. And I know the first thing a lot of fans do when they hear that is roll their eyes right away, and they're like, "Here we go again." Right? Here we go. We got media blowing smoke again on how good things look, and we know that hasn't mattered in previous years. So I'm curious what your, and maybe this is a stupid abstract concept to even talk about, so tell me if it is, but is there a feel like that there for you when you watch that whole thing, or do you kind of discount that the way maybe a lot of fans do when they're kind of saying, "Hey, show me," or "Shut up" on this?
I don't know if I kind of depends who you're talking about. When it comes to the head coach, he'll address the shortcomings of last year pretty openly, and he'll address that, as you saw in the video. This program has lost way too many close games, and he's sick of it. He's tired of it. He's only been part of it 1 year, but he knows what's happened, and I'm not really answering your question with this, but I will tell you this about Rhule. I know he likes this team, and he likes its personality, but he also likes its talent. He knows he has something here, and that adds a certain amount of probably pressure. It does. There is expectation this year, and that's kind of part of my answer to your question. There's nothing. I don't know. I don't see anything contrived coming from the media. There's nothing. I don't see blowing smoke to say this is a good roster. That's not blowing smoke. It's a good roster. It's not blowing smoke to say the schedule's very manageable in the context of a difficult Big Ten, a Big Ten conference. But Nebraska happens to have a manageable schedule that coincides with a period where the roster's pretty good, both sides of the ball. Better on defense, but pretty good on both sides of the ball. Good on both sides of the ball. So there's no blowing smoke. There should be optimism. There's a new quarterback. Jack, the portal changes these conversations quite a bit.
Yeah.
Last year, like if you're a team like Ole Miss, what does last year really matter when you have 70 new players?
That's true. True.
And Nebraska's not extreme like that, but you could say it to a certain extent. What does it matter when your receiving core looks that much different, so much different than last year, where your quarterback is new? I mean, the defense, you wanted those guys back, but they added some key guys like Bly Hill and Sierra Wright. So I don't know. I understand why, if there's a little optimism coming from the media, it makes sense to me.
I know, it's just that I think, and I've been the target of this critique too, but I'm not there every day, but there's just been a sense of, we've heard this before other seasons or something similar, or maybe it was just a positive. There's a different feel there, or the schedule is doable, or the defense looks better than ever, the offensive line looks better than ever, whatever. And then it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So it's a boy who cried wolf syndrome.
Yeah, but you know what? On the other hand, I don't hear. Maybe I don't know what you're hearing, Jack, but I don't hear a lot of media saying 9 wins. I hear more 7.
Okay,
but it's a team that's probably capable of more. That feels like the ground floor 7. But I'm not going past 7. I'm not going to, because as a nod to the past, I just don't feel it's responsible. But do I think this team has the sort of roster and schedule to win 9? I do. But it's not, and that's where it comes to that's where it comes down to coaching to me. If the coaches squeeze all they can out of this roster, it's a 9 or 10 win team. 10 win would be in a bowl game probably. It's that they're good. They're pretty good. I mean, they're not, Jack. You're old enough to remember when you would look down at Nebraska coming out of the tunnel, and it was sort of a sight to behold in terms of size, athleticism. Mm-hmm. It's not that. I mean, they don't have that. They're good. They're pretty good, though. And it's representative of a Big Ten team. It doesn't look like Michigan running out of there, or Ohio State. And Michigan last year, when it ran out of the tunnel, it was sort of awe-inspiring. And when they're warming up, you're like, oh, boy. I mean, they kind of wow you with their size and athleticism. Not just 3 or 4 players, like 40 or 50 players. Nebraska's not there. They're not there, but they're pretty good.
To wrap this up, it's interesting you said that. I remember talking. Brendan Stye used to do my Friday shows with me, and I remember he said he went to the Ohio State game. He works at the university, and he would go and meet with donors there and stuff. And he was on the field when Ohio State came out. This was during one of Frost's years, I think. And he said that team. He said Ohio State came out, and he was like, I saw him come out of the tunnel, and he's like, they looked different. And I still remember him saying that, which is it's just interesting because it's kind of the same thing that you're saying right now in terms of look. And I don't know if I appreciate that fully or not, but it's interesting to hear him echo what you're saying right now. So, well, it's going to be interesting. If it is 7 wins, if that's it, I don't know what the reaction to that will be. Yeah, and I guess it probably depends when they happen, how they happen, and to whom they happen. And
exactly.
That plays a big factor in that. Hey, great. That was a fun conversation, Sip. Good stuff. I could have gone forever on this one, but back to battle Monday morning, back to our battle station. So great to have you on. It was a lot of fun, and always enjoy talking to you, Sip.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
There goes Steve Sipple, Husker Online.